We saw this week where presidential candidate RFK Jr. promised that he would do his best, that if elected, to put the US government budget on a blockchain. Now, I want to dissect a little bit about what that means and if it would ever happen. Now, one, because he's an independent candidate, I don't really think RFK Jr. is going to win. I don't see the US government going onto a blockchain anytime soon, but what does he mean by that? Well, what he means is the US government, the budget is extremely opaque. We don't really know what all is going into the budget. Now, every so often, I forget what it is, if it's quarterly or once a year, the government publishes their budget, which is just thousands and thousands of pages of all these dollars that are being allocated everywhere in the country to all sorts of programs and individuals and people and contractors and everything. And it's not until that point that we can see what was spent where, and you have to comb through all of that data to figure out what is getting spent and where, and it takes quite a bit of time. And in that time, the people that are getting that money have already, possibly become rich. And this isn't meant to be, totally against the government. But here's what could happen is, one, if he's putting the budget onto a public blockchain, that does not make it a crypto asset. That does not mean that it's going to be volatile. That doesn't mean that they're going to get rugged or the money can get stolen or anything like that. What it means is it's going to be very public. It's going to be very transparent as to where money is going, as to what the budget looks like. We are going to get to see up to the second where money would be allocated. And there, we can maybe stop some of the allocations, or it gives us as citizens, as voters, the ability to push back a little bit. What it also means is those in power, those that are actually allocating the US budget, are going to have to think differently, because if they know that when they pay way too much for something, if they know that more money than necessary is going to, some organization, some part of the government, or some program or project that isn't really working, they're going to be less likely to allocate to that if they know that we're all going to get to see it in real time. We've talked before about just transparency in the financial system and how blockchain technology can give us more of that. We've already seen tokenized funds. We've seen tokenized funds from BlackRock and Franklin Templeton and others that have this extreme experience with transparency. And again, once we see that, it's hard to go back. So the question is, would the US government, would any government or public companies or even private companies going to start putting their assets, going to start putting their treasuries on chain? I think there will be more of a push from investors that are going to want that. There's going to be more of a push from citizens of countries to have more visibility into what's happening with the budget, because I think we're tired of spending and spending and spending, only to find out later that, as RFK said, we paid $13,000 for a toilet seat or something, and we all know that of that $13,000, 12,950 of that went to some contractor, whereas $50 actually went to the toilet seat. So I think what he's meaning is we need more transparency. We need the government to be more accountable, because when you have that transparency, you increase the accountability of the organization. Again, whether it's the US government, whether it's municipal government, state governments, whether it's a publicly traded company or a private company, the transparency will lead to greater response from those that are investors or those that are citizens, and greater need for accountability on the part of those that are actually allocating, and probably, honestly, better risk management, better management overall. Maybe we would get to look at the budget and go, hey, we found ways that you can actually save money in the budget, because you can, utilize this service or that service, or you can get goods or products less expensively somewhere else. But what it means is they are going to have more accountability in the short term, and then in the longer term, it means they're maybe going to be better managers of the money, maybe better stewards with the budget. And that, I think, is what RFK Jr. was really going for. Again, I don't think it will happen anytime soon, but it starts the conversation down these roads, just like BlackRock did with their tokenized fund. It starts the conversations of transparency of our investments, of transparencies of our ledgers, that will lead to a greater desire for more transparency. And it will also lead to a greater desire for more accountability from those in power.